Awesome. Hello, everybody. Yeah. So we're going to begin the study. We're into week 2 now, and it's the birth of John. So I wanted to talk about the timing of John's birth, specifically how we know when John was born, and then who John is in relation to us. There's a few matters, so we're just going to kind of run through this worksheet that I have. Basically, the readings all coming out of Luke 1 through verse 80, right? So chapter 1, 1 through 80 in Luke. And the birth of John the Baptist. And if everyone could get there.
What chapter in Luke?
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, all 80 verses?
Yes.
So 1 through 80.
1 through 80, correct. I'll actually get there too, so that we're all on the same page, so to speak. Yeah, here we are. And I don't want to read the text per se, like just straight out. I don't want to read all 80 verses. But so maybe we could just run through Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth. So Zechariah, right, remembered of God, Zechariah, and his wife Elisheva, Elizabeth. They basically, they were older in age, and they wanted to conceive, and same old story, just like Abraham and Sarai, right? They had a problem, and they couldn't, and they were old, and so it was a miraculous birth. So John's birth, just from that, it's a miraculous birth, because what happens is Zechariah goes in and prays for a son. And everyone in the community is actually praying with him that he would conceive. And this scene, it's not an unfamiliar scene, right? And sure enough, he does have a son, and the son comes along with angelic promise and prophecy and all kinds of other crazy things, right? So definitely, yeah, we're going to be hopping into Malachi here pretty quick. Yeah, who else prophesied John?
Well, you have it right here. It's below the second verse.
Okay.
I guess not. Joel? Yeah.
Okay. So what we have, right? So what we have in, let's just kind of go into it a little bit with the. Let's kind of start with verse 5.
Want me to read it?
Sure.
In the time of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah, who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah?
Yeah, Abijah or Aviyah.
Abijah or Abiyah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Interesting. Oh, okay.
Right. Both of them were righteous before God, walking in integrity in all the commandments or mitzvot of Hashem, of God, and in his statutes.
But they had no children because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both well along in years. How old do you think they were?
It's hard to know.
80s and 90s.
Probably, like Abraham.
Yeah, I'm guessing like Abraham. They're advanced in their years, and they're without children, but they're righteous, and they keep all the commandments, which is a pretty awesome thing to do, right? That's something we should all kind of work towards, right?
Once, when Zechariah's division was on duty, and he was serving as priest before God, he was chosen by Lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to go into the temple of the Lord and burn incense. Is that the second room? Not the Holy of Holies, right? The second.
No, just the holy place.
And when the time for the burning of incense came and all the assembled worshipers were praying outside, then an angel of the Lord appeared to him standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son. You are to give him the name John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord." What wasn't Jesus? Weren't they cousins?
Yes.
So Zechariah and Joseph and Mary were
Yeah. So I believe it was Elizabeth and Mary.
cousins.
Yeah, they were cousins.
Yeah, they were married.
Elizabeth and Mary were cousins, and because she goes to visit. Mary goes to visit Elizabeth
Right.
when she's with child, and so and we'll get to that too. But yeah, so they're cousins, and so what would have to have happened was Mary's in Mary's line above her would have married a Levite. And that's where Elizabeth would have come from. She would have she would have been born in the Levitical line, or she married Zachariah.
Is it an Aaronic line, or is it different?
So it's a priest versus Levite. So all priests are Levites, but not all Levites are priests.
Oh yeah, it says that Elizabeth was a descendant of Aaron.
Oh,
Fifth,
well, there you have it.
paragraph.
So if Elizabeth was a descendant of Aaron, and she was also related to Mary, then someone from Judah and someone from Levi would have had to come together, and I guess that's what I'm saying.
To be a priest, it would be a priest.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of interesting that so Zechariah is from Levi, and then is Elizabeth also from?
No, she's from Aaron.
Who's also from Levi, because Aaron's a Levite. So Aaron comes. That's the distinction, is that
Aaron was always a high priest.
Right.
The Levites were below them.
So if you're
When Aaron passed, things changed a little bit.
well, no. So if you were a Levite, you could serve as a priest, you could serve as a Levite if you're from the tribe of Levi. But only the priests were the descendants of Aaron specifically. Aaron was from Levi, so was Moses. They were from Levi, and so you could serve.
Levi was the sire.
Yeah, Levi. Yeah, right. Levi was the progenitor. He was of the 12 brothers, the 12 tribes. From Levi's line came Aaron, and so the sons of Levi could all serve in the temple as Levites, but only the sons of Aaron, of the tribe of Levi, could actually serve as priests. And so they were priests. So it was like a circle within the circle. And so, we have. Basically, we have.
There's a line from Moses and Aaron that goes down through the ages.
Absolutely, right. And even today, they talk about some people claiming their lineage back through Levi. They can say, or Benjamin. It's funny, Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, has a ring that dates back, I think, somewhere close to the 1st century, and it's a signet ring of the line of Benjamin, and and that's his name, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's it's kind of interesting that he has. I mean, it's like literally, it's an ancient artifact. He wears it around, but I guess that's what you do when you live in Israel. You wear ancient artifacts and you talk about things like, being from from the tribe of Levi or
He
Benjamin.
is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he'll be filled with the Holy Spirit even from birth. Many of the people of Israel will be bring back to the Lord their God, and he will go on before the Lord. The Spirit and power of Elijah. Turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous. Make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Who's this speaking?
That's a good question. It's probably Luke.
Oh, forgot.
Yeah, probably Luke narrating.
Yeah, he's narrating on. Although, yeah. Zechariah asked the angel, how
Oh, the angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the angel.
Zechariah asked the angel, how can I be sure of this? I'm an old man and my wife is well along in years. I think Sarah kind of chuckled.
Right. When Sarah found out, she laughed, and that's where
The difference is,
that's where what's his name? Jacob and Esau. No, not Jacob. Who's Abraham's kid was
Isaac.
Isaac. And yeah, his name Yitzhak. It means laughter.
after his mother.
Yeah, his mother basically said that, and so he got that. He caught that name, laughter, Yitzhak.
Jokes on them.
Yeah, sure.
The angel answered, I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God and have been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. Now you will be silent and not be able to speak until this day. The day this happens because you will not believe my words, which will come true. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he put a whammy on old Zechariah.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him talk. So let's kind of recap. We've gotten through a good chunk of this. So just talking about that for a second. So it says that that Zechariah went into the temple. Now he cast lots, but so here's kind of how the situation comes down. In 1 Chronicles 24, verse 7 through 19, it explains how the priests were divided into sections. They were divisions of priests, and these divisions of priests would serve in the temple each week. They would switch out, or every 2 weeks they'd switch out. And so you would get a different priest from that, or a different. So what I've done is on your paperwork, I've given the verse where it lists the names of the priests according to David. So David basically says this is how the priests are going to serve. And as the years went on, there became more and more priests, more and more Levites. And so they started kind of doing their shifts. And so if you look at this paper, this is basically the breakdown of what descendant of Levi was supposed to be going into the temple at what point. And so it gets a little bit, it's kind of, so in the beginning when David made this list, it was just those guys. It was just those priests. Those priests would go in, and that was that. But as they, procreated and they created more and more people, they would divide the days up even more and more among the tribe even further. And so when you have somebody going in, so Zechariah goes in to the holy place to light the incense, and he's doing this during the priestly course of Abijah. That's the key, Aviyah. And so we know that because it says it in chapter 1, verse, where is it?
Well, it's Tammuz, 4th month.
Yeah, he's in Tammuz, in the month of Tammuz, or the 4th month, and he's called to do this job. So we know when he went in.
So it says here, Zechariah's priestly service ends with Abijah.
Right.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, so he goes in. So essentially what we have 12 months, and then out of each of the 12 months, a different name every 2 weeks. So each month is divided into 2 weeks,
Right.
two-week sections, and within the 2-week sections, those months were chosen by lot, according to what it says here. And the tradition, basically the rest of the Jewish tradition. So basically, what's going on here is it's saying that on the eighth course, the course of Abijah, Zechariah was chosen by Lot to go in and serve as the priest, and so he's in serving as the priest, and the next. And the next thing that goes on, anybody know the name of the next priestly tribe or the next priestly division to serve in the temple? Right after Abijah? Yeshua. Right. So Abijah comes, which is at this time Zechariah, and then the next course to come is Yeshua. And so it's kind of interesting because John is the precursor of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua HaMashiach, right? So what's going on is we know
By coincidence.
it's definitely not by coincidence. And if you look at this list of names, I've put their meanings next to them. So that they show up on that next column. So you'll see things like Zechariah's name, or actually it's not Zechariah, but Abijah means basically God is my father, or Yehovah is my father, Yahweh my father. And then the next thing is salvation of God, basically Yeshua. It keeps on going, by the way. When we look at some of the other things that go on, when Mary conceives, the name is Pethiah, which means fed by God, or nourished by God, you could say.
It says freed by God.
Oh, free. There you go. And that is what it says. So there's another one too that's established. Anyway, these names kind of are interesting when you start to kick them around. But to get back on track here, we know when Zechariah goes into the temple, we know when he goes into the holy place, and we know when at that point he comes out, and the next thing that he's going to be up to is conceiving John, right? Because that's what the angel says. The angel says, you're going to be with child, you're going to go conceive. Now, he was in there praying about the situation. And the angel doesn't say that you have a child already. The angel says you will conceive. And so if you look at that during the time of Yeshua, if he conceives then, which would make a lot of sense because that is the time of Pentecost. So Pentecost falls in the ninth in the
Kislev? Azir?
it's Pentecost is in the month of Av. In the month of Av. It's like the very beginning of Av of Eve, basically. So the
he's conceived at Pentecost.
right. So John basically the eighth course is Abijah with Zechariah the father, and then John is conceived when he comes out. The next one is going to be the beginning of Pentecost.
Okay, so Passover is before that. This song.
Right. So if we look, so he's conceived at Pentecost, and then if we fast forward 9 months from Pentecost, what do we hit?
Birth of John.
Right, and that falls at right. So and that's
Or ER or IR. Dedicated barley.
so
Harim Skorin.
so we basically 9 months from Pentecost
all the way to
puts us at Nisan.
wait a minute. No. See, no. Where'd you start from the birth of John? You're saying, not the
Yeah.
conception.
Right,
Goes all the way and then repeats to the top.
right, and it hits at Nisan.
Yeah, if you're counting off as a month, then it does end at Nissan. If not, then it's
Yeah, because it's like the first day of Av, the first of Aviv, the first day of the month is when Passover comes. Or, I mean, Pentecost. Right. No. The month of Aviv, when the barley is in Aviv, is the basically that's the beginning. So we count the entire month of Av and go all the way around back, and we hit Nisan. And so it's actually going to be right around Nisan 14. It hits about right at Passover. So let's say he waits till the very end of Pentecost.
Well, wait a minute. I just realized that whole column is 2 years. Nisan all the way to Adar, and then Nisan's again all the way to Adar. It's divided into 2 years here.
Oh yeah, we have 2 12s. Yeah, there's 2 12s there.
Yeah. So Yeshua is tabernacled 40 weeks.
So basically when we now if you look at this page too, you can see the calendar in a cyclical format. So on this one, I basically put all 4 seasons. So you can count it in a circle, and if you have good enough eyes, you can see if you start at Pentecost, which would be called Shavuot.
Shabbat?
Oh yeah, Shavuot. If you look at Shavuot, it's after you count the Omer. You go all the way around the calendar, and you're back 9 months later. You're back at Passover. So John's born at Passover. He's conceived at Pentecost. 9 months later, he's born at Passover. He's born.
Oh, okay, Ayar is Passover.
Nisan.
Oh, Nisan.
Yeah, Nisan. So it's kind of days and dates. So it's where we get kind of fuzzy is it's like a day or two that could go either way. And when it comes to babies being born, maybe that's all right.
Well, but it says here, it's in the birth of John is within the month of Ayar, not Nisan, right?
So
Looking at it correctly, it's below Ayar is below Nisan.
Right. So if you start in Av is 1, then Elul,
2,
Tishri,
4,
Sivan, Kislev,
7,
Tevet,
8.
Shavat,
Oh, 9. Yeah, I
Adar.
see what you mean. Okay, that's 9.
and then Nisan is 9. Yeah. So we got 9 months from conception to birth for John. So John comes at Pentecost or at Passover. John comes at Passover. That's a really important thing to know because, and this is where it starts to get kind of interesting, is that the Jewish people have been waiting for Elijah to come at Passover forever, right? From the very beginning, they've been waiting for Elijah's return because that's going to he's the herald of the Messiah.
Right.
He's going to announce the Messiah. And when does he announce the Messiah? Well, Jews always, every year, they set aside a place for Elijah. They always set aside this place for Elijah, and they say, you know what, I hope he comes this year, right? And if he doesn't come this year, next year in Jerusalem, they say, right? That's the phrasing that we go through. And so basically, they're waiting for him to come. They're waiting for him to come and lead an exodus, right? Just like out of the Passover, right? They're waiting for another Passover to happen. They're saying, yeah, we want a second exodus. We want Elijah to come. We want to be done with this Pharaoh that we got, and we want to come and find the Messiah, the Lord. And so at Passover is the time that Elijah should come. And sure enough, John comes right on time. He comes during the Passover of that particular year that brought about the Messiah. That same year, 6 months later, we know that Yeshua, the Messiah, comes along, Jesus Christ. He comes and follows after his cousin.
Okay, 6 months. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.